What's up, everybody? Cinephile Mike here. I have the pleasure of chatting with Lee Knight, whose first film, A Friend of Dorothy, is currently shortlisted for the Academy Awards for live action short. Lee, how are you? Thank you for taking the time to chat with me.
Pleasure. I'm good. Oh my goodness, I'm good. You can hear in my voice that I'm jet lagged. My goodness. I've just had I'm in LA and I've just done a screening here. And then I was in New York for a screening the day before and then in London a few days before. So yeah, so thank God for tinted moisturizer, right?
And this will probably be your life for the next couple of months.
Yeah, yeah. It is a bit of a whirlwind. It's a bit crazy.
So let's dive right into it. So, the title of your film alone carries such cultural and historical weight. How did you approach honoring that history while telling this very personal story?
Wow, what a good question for this time of the morning. That's incredible. I've never had such a good question, actually. I think being a gay man, that comes with its own history for me, right? So I want to share stories of that are important to me. I want to explore stories that are important to me. And of course, as artists, we put everything or ourselves into things we write and make. So uh, I've for that reason alone, I've always been fascinated in the past, our queer history, because we don't have a queer history in the sense of education. And I lived through Section 28, which was Margaret Thatcher's banning of any promotion of homosexuality. And, we're obviously seeing similar kind of things being, trying to happen now. Um, all these years later. So for me, when I saw the play The Inheritance, which is in the film, it's a theme within the film.
Mhm.
It was a play about the AIDS crisis and about if we to move on in our future, we have to look at our past. And when I saw The Inheritance, which changed my life, and it changed a lot of gay men's lives, as an as an adult seeing that play, it was the first time I realized I had a queer history to be proud of. Isn't that kind of crazy? I didn't, it landed on me in that play that there's a queer history to be proud of. It never occurred to me because we're not taught queer history that there is one to learn and be proud of. So I think I wanted to weave all that into the film.
Nice. And you tackle a lot with this film. I mean, you have a lot of these themes. You have identity, vulnerability, humor, all these different colors. How did you go about navigating that tonal balance?
Um, I think the key for me was having the two characters at the opposite ends of their life being so different and honoring both of them and both of their sensibilities and needs. Dorothy being this very lonely woman at the end of her life. Her husband has passed away, her children live abroad, and she is lonely. Like a lot of people that age find themselves very lonely, and a lot of their friends have passed away. And then you have JJ, who is young and he's at the beginning of his life, but he finds himself lonely because he his parents want him to be something he is never going to be, and he hasn't found his tribe, he hasn't found his people yet. So I think focusing as a writer on those two worlds meant that I could explore lots of different themes. Um, and there's a lot of different themes in life all the time, and I kind of just wanted to tackle all of them. Yeah.
And as you were putting it together, was there ever a moment as you were filming this where things shifted from kind of like what you had planned or envisioned to what you felt?
Yeah, I thought I was a comedy writer, right? I wrote a script. The first thing I wrote in 2019 was a script called The Gym, and it was a comedy pilot, and it reached the semi-finals for BBC Comedy Writers' Room, which is a very prestigious thing. And that was a moment for me where I realized I could write. It was a big moment for me. And since then, I thought, well, I'm a comedy writer. So I, I wrote it thinking that, but then it sort of was very clear that yes, there's comedy, life is funny,
Mhm.
but also underneath the comedy is very serious subjects that we're tackling.
Right.
And that was a big realization because you should never pigeonhole yourself as a creative and say, I do this, I do that. People say to me now, oh, are you not acting anymore? And of course I am. I'm an
Right.
writer and director, I'm a storyteller. So they're all just different outlets for telling stories. So I think for me, it was realizing that not to pigeonhole myself into saying this is a comedy because it's more of a drama, but life is funny. You have to have comedy because life is hilarious, but it's also very serious and sad.
And how much did you, when you were doing this, did you rely on, the subtext versus the real explicit storytelling?
I it's very important for me to have moments to breathe within the script because silence and moments are everything in this film. And because I wrote it, I knew it very well. I knew every breath and every beat very well. So I was able to support the actors in those moments where nothing is being said. And there was moments actually in the edit where one of my producers might have said, "Oh, I like it when he says that twice." And I was like, "No, no, no, let's have that as a silence. It was meant to be a silence. Let's keep it as that." I find it very powerful when you can really hone in on an actor's inner life. It's kind of like, the ocean, I call it the ocean beneath the text is the most beautiful part. So I'd sat with the script for a long time, so I knew every kind of moment in it, and that was really lovely to be able to take the actors through that.
And the moments of silence are powerful. But then the other thing that really stood out to me was the at the moments when it was used, the score was absolutely beautiful. Can you talk about the conversations you had with your composer, Stuart Hancock? Because there were some lovely moments with the music in this.
Yeah, he's a genius. Honestly, I have a deep love for the music that he's created, and really, all that happened was, I'd attached music that I felt was what like in line with what I wanted. I played some music through the montage to help me in the sense of my imagination. So when I put it to the composer, put it to Stuart, I'd already had like quite an idea of what I wanted, but he created such a unique sort of theme tune for it. And what I was very explicit in was I don't want the music to overshadow anything the actors are doing. You have to take it from the actors and it has to complement them. It has to all come from every moment that's happening for them. And he did that so beautifully.
Mhm.
There are some films sometimes where you don't want the music to be intrusive.
Yeah.
And what Stuart's achieved on this is exactly what I wanted, which is, just they work together so
Mhm.
beautifully, the actors and the music.
And from the audience point of view, I can tell you, mission was accomplished.
Oh, thank you.
So again, congrats on directing your first film. That's such an amazing accomplishment.
Yes.
So I love to ask this question, especially for first-time directors.
Okay.
What would you say was your greatest learning, and what is going to be a best practice that you take from this experience into future projects? And what would you say is a learning curve that you might try to sidestep?
Mm. Okay, I think the thing I've learned most is collaboration. Like, I don't mean that I don't like to collaborate, of course I do, but really building your team and listening to them and trusting them. Collaboration is really key. Everyone's voice matters. And when you're the writer director and you're starting the party, you I take such ownership. It's in my bones. This whole project is in my bones. You know, I have sleepless nights over it. And I still do. But I think your team are there to support you, and everyone has to be heard. And it's a wonderful thing collaborating and listening to everyone's opinions, because even though you might think you might be always right, there might be one thing that, you're not. So I think collaboration is kind of a really lovely thing that I learned the importance of, um, and the yeah, trusting your team. And what was the other question? The second part.
The learning curve, the thing to sidestep or to try to avoid, like not fall into that trap again.
Um, I I honestly I don't think I have anything.
Okay,
I honestly don't. I
that's fair.
from the moment I stepped on set, I was the happiest I've been in a long time. I felt like I'd worked my whole career as an actor to get to that moment where everything I learnt through my building of my craft, I was then bringing to those actors on set. And it was kind of euphoric for me. Really, it was euphoric. And there is nothing really I do differently, because you're always going to have time pressures. You're always going to have all these things. Nothing's ever going to be perfect, but in the sense of how it all unfolded, I'm just it was really just I loved it. I don't want to say it was easy, because nothing's easy. That would be awful. But I honestly felt I'd waited my whole life to get on that set. I really did. I was in my element.
Nice. So, what I have to let you go in a moment, but I want to ask when people spend their roughly 21 minutes or so in your world, what is it that you're hoping they take away, or what conversations do you hope start when they walk out of your film?
I think it's interesting because I do get asked this, and the first thing I always say is, I never wanted or would have thought about or even occurred to me about what an audience might take away, which is the great thing about art, because we
Mhm.
shouldn't go into it thinking, I want to achieve this. What we want to do is go, it's all about the story. And if you're truthful to that story, then, and you do everything you can to make it about that story, then hopefully that will resonate, right? Because it comes from such an organic place. But I think that now, the times we're living in, I feel like it's landed at a point where I've been around the world with this film now, and I've really absorbed audiences' responses, which is very overwhelming, actually, very, very overwhelming. I went to Naples in Florida, and we opened this festival to 1,300 people, and after that, um, people would come up to me, 1,300 people, and tell me how it resonated with them. And I feel like it's landed at a time where people need a story about love and companionship, and the importance of loving your neighbor despite any differences, perceived differences you may have. You may think someone is completely different from you, but you never know when they might change your life, or a small thing, a small gesture, even a smile might completely change someone's day or their life, because you see them. And it is about being seen for who you truly are. That's the ultimate message, is feeling seen for who you really are. And I think the world needs a little bit of that right now.
That's a beautiful note for us to end on. So,
Uh,
Lee, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. A Friend of Dorothy is a beautiful film. Best of luck to you on its continued journey. I hope that I hear it as one of those five nominees in a couple of
Thank
weeks. It's a beautiful film. Thank you so much for taking the time.
you for having me. Speak soon.